All right. I would say let's get started. So, hello and welcome, everyone. I'm thrilled to have you with us today for what I think promises to be an exciting and important moment, which is the official launch of the Comforte's next generation data security platform. My name is Thomas Stößer. I will be your moderator and co-presenter for today's event. And we've designed this session for you to give you real insights into how we're helping organizations like yours to unlock the full potential of data without compromising on security. Before we dive in, there are a few quick housekeeping notes that I'd like to share. So today's session will run for about 45 minutes. We do encourage you to ask questions. You can submit them at any time using the Q&A panel on your screen. We will address as many as we can during the live discussion at the end. And yes, the session is being recorded, so you will receive a link to watch it again or share it with your team afterwards. So now I'm delighted to introduce our speakers who will guide us through today's launch and share the thinking behind this platform. First up, we'll have Bart Pavan, our Chief Revenue Officer, who will share a few welcome thoughts. I will then take over for a few minutes exploring the challenges organizations face in securing sensitive data today. And then we'll hear from Henning Horst, our Chief Technology Officer and one of the visionaries behind the new platform. He'll walk us through the opportunities that organizations have if they approach data security the right way, and he will talk about the breakthrough innovations that make this solution so powerful and future-ready. With that, let's get started. Bart, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. And ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this webinar. We are very, very happy to welcome many of our customers here. Very grateful that you spent time and that you grace us by your presence. Thank you very much. We've been extraordinarily loud for Comforte, right? The launch you can't miss, Comforte's biggest innovation yet. And you're maybe not used to that from Comforte. If we do so, it is because we mean it. That is what we are. That is why we're gathered here for today. We are really very, very proud to announce today the launch of our next generation data protection platform. It is a platform, ladies and gentlemen, with tons of innovations. You will see it now. There is a next webinar just afterwards, which goes further into the detail of that. And I am sure that you walk away with that same warm feeling that I already have because I know what is coming. It's a tons of innovation. It is independent actually of the technical platform. So Nonstop, of course, is included, but it's not only for Nonstop. And it is really innovative in the sense that it enables cloud, it enables AI. And, that is at the top of the agenda of a lot of organizations. And that is exactly where we hit the spot with the new platform. And in the end, what it does, and that is what we care about, it is delivering value to you. It brings new things that raise the value of what you can do with data security. It is not about compliance. It's about increasing value for you. And if we get compliance at the same time, we're all happy about it, I'm sure. Now, note that I have not mentioned the name yet. I keep that suspense up a little bit. Thomas is first going to walk us through the different challenges, as he already said. Again, a very warm welcome here. Wonderful to see you. And over to you, Thomas.
Thank you, Bart. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the reality that organizations are facing today. And I think if we try to simplify it a little bit from a security point of view, you can fairly say there are two sides. So on the one hand, we know there is an amplified threat landscape. We're hearing about data breaches on a daily basis. I would say we've already reached a status of data breach fatigue. The news about quantum computing and how that threatens to undermine traditional encryption, adds to that. And we're also already hearing about data leaks from, bigger AI or analytics deployments. On the other hand, to that, there is an increasing reliance of organizations on data. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, large language models, advanced analytics, all these things are being in very, very high demand. And if you continue that line of thought, I think it's safe to say that the pressure on security and compliance teams is increasing significantly. And they're trying to get rid of regulatory infractions, they're trying to avoid non-compliance, you're trying to keep executives and who are accountable these days as well out of the crosshairs. But at the same time, you're trying that balancing act by also giving access to real-time data, to sensitive data in real time. And if you look at these two sides of a puzzle, it's very obvious that there is a big conflict. Now, that big conflict, I would even describe as today's or the new inventor's dilemma. It's not the 90s anymore, it's 2025, and this is what the real challenge is today. Because on the one hand, security teams are struggling to maintain secure environments, and still business stakeholders see them as blockers of data-driven initiatives. And this exactly leads to that conflict, and all of this is based on a misconception. The misconception that leveraging data for business purposes while keeping it secure is not possible. I think that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions. And what does that all lead to? It leads to two things. It leads to a stall in innovation. It leads to slower deployments of AI data initiatives. It leads to reduced cloud agility because there are trust and security constraints. And if you add all these things up, it really boils down to two things. On the one hand, missed business opportunities. So you're not able to realize operational efficiency gains. You're not able to realize additional revenue channels. And furthermore, the one player in your market who's going to solve that puzzle, the first is going to have a competitive edge, because that player is going to be able to move faster than everyone else who tries to solve this puzzle with each initiative that we're tackling. So I think it's pretty inevitable to think about a new approach and a paradigm shift almost. And that's exactly where, Henning, I would like to hand over to you, because I think there is a lot of insight that you can share.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas, and also from my side, a warm welcome. Thanks for taking the time. So yeah, let's look at a different approach. And if we look at you need to give me the control, please, Thomas. There we go. So if we look at what's on the agenda of the different C-levels and what their objectives is to actually enable business and avoid risk, right? That's the common theme that Thomas already alluded to, kind of how can we do more but not get into the crosshairs of additional security risks and optimally reduce those. And that's, of course, a different perspective from each of the typical C-level executives. So starting from the CEO, you see, of course, they need to be behind faster innovation, increasing customer trust, and, of course, ensuring compliance. The CFO looking more from the monetary side, of course, needing a positive ROI, cost savings on the one hand, risk reduction, but also, of course, the missed opportunities that Thomas talks about, or realizing those opportunities for additional revenue and shareholder value. On the security side, the CISO in the house, of course, if you look at the perspectives, they want strong and consistent control. Quantum safe security, that's on the top of the mind of many CISOs I talk to. And of course, something that's audit ready. Last but not least, on their minds, for sure, also the challenge of, okay, if you take data to other jurisdictions, how do you ensure that the data sovereignty remains intact? And for CIOs, CTOs like me, I mean, we want something that's cloud native, that's developer friendly, that you can scale without rework. And also even that whole kind of cloud native systems aside, that you build from scratch and new, you have existing digital core systems that you want to integrate that need to be smoothly integrated into the whole environment so that you can continue to get value from them. And accordingly, if you look at the investment priorities for CIOs and tech execs, on the right side, you see a questionnaire from Gartner basically highlighting what are the top funding trends in 2025. And you see on the top of the list kind of cybersecurity, generative AI, artificial intelligence, like business intelligence, data analytics, and cloud platforms. And I mean, these are rather kind of abstract buckets that sound familiar, but there's a story behind this. So it's all about, as you see on the left, enabling business and avoiding risk. And this typically comes together with focusing on growth, efficiency, and customer experience. So we talked about the opportunities that you can reap from optimally utilizing your data. So enabling cross-sell, upsell opportunities for your business, efficiency gains from more automation, from AI capabilities that you can use. And on the customer experience side, that's something where personalization plays a big role in making a impact to your customers, to the customer experience, and gaining that competitive edge. If you look at, okay, what's needed for realizing that, it basically comes down to a lot of the answer there is, okay, we need to have something that's based on AI and analytics to get those benefits. And nowadays, I mean, really, we're looking at where does that run? Where are all of these powerful platforms hosted? That's, of course, on cloud technology. And that's where then it comes together, okay, and where does the data come from that can be analyzed, that you can get the benefits from? That's, of course, coming also from the various mission-critical digital core systems that the organizations have and that are extremely important to feeding those insights so that you can reap those benefits. And therefore, of course, it's very important that those systems are nicely integrated, seamlessly integrated, and can deliver on unlocking the value of the data that they hold. So if we take a step back and say, okay, how do we actually do this? How do we actually combine enabling business with avoiding risk, like the whole theme that we've been talking so far? And the question is, okay, if we take a step back, can we learn something from casinos? And you might wonder, that's a weird shift here now. But actually, if you look at them, the casino business, respectively casino security, is really something that I think we can look at and inspire modern data security approaches, because they are very good in enabling business while reducing and avoiding risk. Because if we look inside of a casino, so this is typically what it looks like, of course. Well, actually not quite, right? What's wrong in this picture? If you look very carefully, you see there's a lot of money on the table. And that's not how casinos operate, right? If you look at how a casino operates, that looks more like this. So essentially, you get into the casino, you exchange money, your dollar, your euros for chips. And then after that, you do all of the playing in the casino based on chips. And so why is that? Have you ever asked yourself why that is? And it essentially comes down to enabling business while avoiding risk. Because if you think about a casino like in Las Vegas, for instance, that has on good days like chips in the value of 50 million out on the floor. So imagine you would actually have all of that money lying on the tables ready to grab for a robber to come in. And of course, if you think about it, casino robberies don't happen that often. And well, if a robber comes in, what they will get is basically the chips, which they can do nothing with. They cannot convert it back to money because, of course, it's known that this was part of a casino robbery. So only the replacing of the actual value, the money, with a placeholder, in this case the casino chips, gave the casinos a huge advantage in actually enabling business, meaning you can play on all of the tables with those chips without actually getting into the problem of having that big risk that comes with having huge amount of money on the table. And if you think about, like, if you had all of that money on the table, I mean, what would you need to do? I mean, you would have to have like security guards around each table. I mean, then the player moves, then you have to have guards to guard the money while it's moving across the tables, right? And that's something that would become very quickly, very expensive and not really comparable to just someone comes into the casino, you replace the value with a placeholder and reduce the risk, or remove the risk that someone comes in and steals actual value. Now, the question is, if we look at classic security that you see in organizations, and I mean, there's different organizations on different maturity levels, but the typical kind of classic security concept is you have various applications, you have databases, you have kind of ETL tools, data warehouses, and you have sensitive data that's moving in between these systems. And for instance, might be PII data, so personal identifiable information, like in this case, John, moving through the systems. And you see, okay, John coming into the organization, then being stored in a database, maybe with database encryption around it, so it's secure there. But what happens when then another tool is reading back from the database and the value is back in its clear value, and you need to find another protection mechanism around it? Then it's moving further. There's tools like ETL where actually you would wonder, okay, why do they actually need the actual data element when all of their business purpose is about moving data and not needing to know if it's John or Jack? Doesn't matter. And that's kind of, if you look at the casino analogy, as if you had security guards around all of the tables, you're playing on money. And that's really where this casino analogy can inspire and explain what we are believing will be the way forward in data security, namely data-centric security, where you replace the sensitive data element as early as possible in the process with some placeholder, like a casino chip, like in a casino. You go to the cashier's cage, you replace your money with something that's non-sensitive, like a chip. In our case, it would be that placeholder. And then only that placeholder value, which is non-sensitive, is flowing through the environment. Tools that don't even need to know the sensitive data element can handle completely without it. And only if and when there's business need to operate on that sensitive data element, only then you would reveal it to the application, to the user of that application. And that has, of course, the various benefits that we already talked to on the casino analogy. And if you look at what you can do with these replacement values, it's really a lot of the business processes from our experience. Like if you look at a classic data analytics, or if we are talking like credit card processing, credit card payments, like a typical example would be fraud detection. This typically can run completely on replacement values, and only if you then have some fraudulent transaction, you can get back to the original data element. Now, that's really where you can see that casino analogy coming to life in actually data-centric security, where you replace the sensitive data value with a placeholder. And what placeholder could that be? Basically, how do you actually get to that placeholder? And you might think, okay, well, we've been doing encryption for a long time, so why not just do that with classic encryption? So I replaced the sensitive data with a encrypted string. And the thing is, that's not possible. Why is that? Because if you utilize classic encryption for protecting a sensitive data element like a credit card number, like an email address, like a name, the problem is that the format is not preserved. So a credit card, if you encrypt it with classic encryption, it will the resulting encrypted data element will be much longer than the original 16 to 19 digits of a credit card. So you cannot utilize that in existing applications. So applications would break because they expect something that has a certain size, and an encrypted data element is way longer. Database formats, database schemas would need to be adjusted. And applications just doing certain verifications, like an email address having an @ sign in the middle, those would break. And that's exactly where tokenization or format preserving encryption technology comes into play, which allows to protect a sensitive data element in a way that preserves the format of that data element. So if you utilize tokenization or format preserving encryption on a credit card number, it still keeps the same format, and that's very flexible in the sense of, do you want to have like it always keeps kind of the same length, and then you're flexible on how you want to have the actual digits look like. And thus, you can just utilize that in your existing applications. You don't need to adjust database schemas. And of course, the same holds true for personal identifiable information like you would hold, for instance, in a core banking system, like email addresses, which with tokenization and FPE technology still look like email addresses. And the good thing with that technology is that you can preserve the data utility, meaning the example that I already alluded to, for instance, in a fraud detection case, if, let's say, I pay with my credit card in Singapore and 10 minutes later there's a payment in the US with the card shown, you can easily say, okay, well, that's a fraudulent transaction. You don't need to know my credit card number for that. You just need to know that it was the same credit card number being used. And that's what tokenization FPE technology also allows to keep that referential integrity so that you can do analytics, for instance, on the data. If we then look one more time at that picture I showed before, like, okay, now that's great. You can kind of remove the risk in a variety of places, reduce the compliance costs, reduce costs that would otherwise come with, okay, securing the systems that have sensitive data, while now with data-centric security, they don't have the actual sensitive data anymore. But there are also use cases where you actually need the sensitive data for the business purpose of the application. And one thing might be, okay, users need to see it. There are ways for doing that so that you actually only get the users to see it while the databases remain protected. But there are, especially if we are looking at technologies like you want to utilize some or move some full application in the cloud, want to utilize AI technology, that's some cases where, there might be cases where you need to have sensitive data exposed, well, in the clear, because the business needs it. And what to do in that case? The point is, if you have to operate on the plain data because of the business requiring that, then you need to ensure that you run this in a trusted execution environment that is under your full control, under your full sovereignty. There are various ways of doing that. The key one that you read about and hear about nowadays is, for instance, utilizing confidential compute to protect the operations that you're doing in a trusted execution environment. And we'll talk some more about that in the second session, but that's something where if you combine now this tokenization in a data-centric security world with sovereign trusted execution environments, that gives you a very powerful way to reduce your risk footprint and ensure that you can do that AI initiative and explore that data analytics tooling in the cloud without exposing your data. Now, if we compare that back to a casino analogy, if you look at, it's the same thing, right? You have real values that only get exposed within high security environments under full control of the organization. So a casino also has in the back office, it has a count room where they count money, so the money needs to be there. But the access to that is highly secured. You have a dual control system that actually is in place so that no insider can get access easily. You have multi-factor authentication. And of course, if you see in the back of the picture, cameras that are looking at all of what's happening. Which gets us to the other point. I mean, if you look at a casino, there's a surveillance room that looks at all of the table, what's happening, what's the players doing, where's the, what are the patterns that are evolving, and really having that full view of everything without any holes in there. And that's, tying this all together in that concept. And that's, like, if you look at it from the combination of, okay, you replace sensitive values with chips, or in that case, in data-centric security tokens, you have ways to utilize modern technologies like AI, like data analytics in the cloud, with properly putting them into kind of the protected environments. In this case, kind of be it the count rooms in the casino or the sovereign trusted execution environments in the cloud. And last but not least, you tie this all together, monitoring the audit and the usage flow. And that's exactly, if you look at this, combining security and compliance and insights and innovation. This is a way where you can avoid the risk, but gain the benefits and gain the business. And that's what is our vision for this next generation platform that we are launching. It's protecting the data and powering your growth. And so I'm very excited to that we have this launch today of our new data security platform, Temunio. And with Temunio, you are getting kind of these features that I talked about, these capabilities that enable you to utilize your data in a secure way, reduce risk while doing so, and ensure data security for the variety of use cases. So be it securing cardholder data in payments transactions. So, a payments platform is a perfect example. In it's the sensitive data comes in, and it's kind of the entry door of the casino, right? It's the entry door of the organization, and you can follow the data. So if you protect it there already in your payments application, you can follow the data, keep it protected throughout, as we discussed about. We also see use cases and working with clients that utilize this for core banking applications like Temenos, for PII protection or protection of cloud data stores. And Temunio will enable you to do secure and sovereign cloud processing, utilizing confidential AI, so that you can really reap those benefits of that. And we have packed various innovations into that. Essentially, this platform, the Temunio platform, is designed from scratch, a fully cloud-native platform on its foundation, and then unifying that with existing capabilities in a next generation that we already have, so that you get kind of the best of these worlds of a cloud-native foundation with auditing, reporting, monitoring in a central manner, data-centric security. We talked about trusted execution environments. So we will introduce data serenity zones in our next session, and essentially utilizing confidential compute to unlock capabilities and possibilities with AI. We have strategic partnerships around this and have been having for a while with ACI for card payments, as I mentioned, Temenos core banking. There's various integrations for cloud technology for enabling you to utilize those AI and analytics tools and move workloads in the clouds securely. So the Tamunio data security platform, the first version will be available next week, and really excited for that, focusing exactly on some of the things that we talked about. But it will be a journey. It will be a journey that we will build out where more and more innovations will follow, starting from the basis of data-centric security, data sovereignty zones, quantum computing, utilizing AI, not just enabling, but utilizing an AI for proper data security, and supporting more and more use cases. So with that, we'll talk some more, go into more details on Tamunio in our next session. But just to wrap up, if you look at it from what Tamunio brings to the table, if my mouse allows me. So the value that we see you can reap with Tamunio is simplifying and strengthening your data security, enabling the secure usage of data as we discussed throughout this session, and last but not least, achieving compliance and reducing risk. So with that, I would hand over back to Thomas.
Thank you very much, Henning. So let's see. I think we are ready to go into the Q&A session. And that's exactly what we're going to do. All right. So at this point, we'd like to hear from you. So this is now your chance to ask questions directly to Henning, I guess, most of the time, because he obviously provided most of the insights so far. If you haven't done so already, please type the questions into the Q&A panel. And as I said, we'll go through as many as we can in the time we have. So there are already some lined up. So let's actually start with the first one. Okay, so Henning, first question I think is one for you. So someone here asks, what does Tamunio mean for me as an existing customer? Do I have to upgrade to the new platform?
No, basically, Tamunio is a new offering that we are providing, so you don't have to upgrade. You're totally fine, on the current product that you have. Of course, if you're looking at extending your usage for utilizing all of these new innovative capabilities, like these trusted execution environments, fully quantum resistant compute, AI capabilities to detect and protect sensitive data, that would be where you could look at Tamunio, of course. But you don't have to upgrade from your existing product.
All right, thanks, Henning. Let's see, then let's actually stick with you. So you already alluded a little bit to a roadmap of Tamunio, and I think that question here aligns nicely with it. Basically, what does the roadmap for Tamunio look like? I mean, I'm sure that this would be good for a separate session, but are there any highlights that you can already mention?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things coming. We are also kind of touching on few of the things that we're releasing with the with this release now and in a very subsequent short next one. But if you think about the areas where we're looking at with the roadmap, it's definitely continuing the road towards confidential AI, utilizing that. It's adding complementary data protection, data privacy mechanisms, like in the future of, you can think of multi-party compute, fully homomorphic encryption, some more advanced capabilities in those privacy enhancing technologies. There's also one of our big focuses always has been how to actually make utilizing data-centric security or data security as easy as possible for especially existing applications. So how to enable existing applications optimally with no code or low code to utilize that data-centric security. So that's another big area where we'll extend the capabilities on the roadmap. There's further capabilities on the horizon when it comes to unifying the things we can do with the platform, gathering the insights that we get, and utilizing AI inside of the technology to dynamically, for instance, do decisions on the spot of, okay, do we do particular activities or throttle requests or block requests on a very kind of intelligent basis. So there's a lot of exciting things coming. There's in the whole area of what we looked at from the casino analogy, kind of securing the trusted execution environment, kind of key management. We will talk about something that is always a painful thing. Certificate rotation. These things, there is a lot of things that we have on the roadmap that really excites us.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Danny. Okay, then I have one more here, and that's a simple one that I'll take. So someone's asking where they can find more information about the Tamunyo offering. So very simple. I would urge you to go to www.tamunyo.io or simply to comforte.com. So both of these areas you'll find more information about Tamunyo, and of course, nothing should stop you from also getting in touch with us directly. So either get in touch with your account manager that you're working with. If you don't know who that is, simply go to our website and use the contact us form, and we will be in touch with you. Okay. All right. So we are getting pretty close to wrapping up here. But before we do, there is just one more thing that I want to highlight here. So, I mean, we've seen how our next generation platform is redefining data security, but it's never enough detail, isn't it? So if you're a technologist, and I believe a lot of the people in the audience are, there's never enough details. That's exactly why we will have a non-commercial break now for about 20 minutes, and then we'll head on into the second part of our launch webinar, where we're going to dive into exactly those details that you're interested in. So again, Henning will walk us through the detailed underpinnings of some of the innovations or the highlights of the innovations of the platform. And that webinar will start at the top of the hour. So again, as a quick reminder, you'll receive a link for today's session recording shortly. Please feel free to share it with your colleagues, with your teams. If you want to have a personalized demo or learn more, get in touch with us. On behalf of everyone here, I'd like to thank you once more for joining us for this exciting launch. And we are looking forward to seeing you in exactly 20 minutes again. All right. Thank you and bye-bye.